Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Aria Rose, and it's my privilege to be the gentle voice that keeps you company as you settle down for a peaceful night's sleep. Tonight, I want to tell you about a little farm, a very special little farm. It belongs to a kind-hearted woman named Martha, who has lived there for as long as anyone in the nearby village can remember. Every morning, before the sun has climbed above the rolling hills, Martha begins her day by visiting the friends who share the farm with her. Her sheep, her cows, her chickens, her old horse, her faithful dogs, her quiet barn cats, and even the little birds that arrive each morning to sing from the old oak tree beside the farmhouse. To Martha, they are not simply animals. They are her friends, her companions, her family. Every one of them has a name. Every one of them has a story. And every one of them knows they are loved. On this little farm, no animal is ever hurried. No animal is ever forgotten. The young are cared for with gentle hands. The old are allowed to live out their days surrounded by comfort. Nothing is expected of them except simply to be themselves. And perhaps that is what makes this little farm such a peaceful place. Tonight, we'll spend a quiet day with Martha. We'll wake before the morning light. We'll walk slowly through fields covered in cool silver dew. We'll greet sleepy chickens waiting patiently for breakfast. We'll visit gentle cows who welcome the new day with calm, peaceful eyes. We'll spend a little time beside an old horse who has worked hard all his life and now enjoys the quiet comfort of his retirement. We'll listen to birds singing high above the fields. We'll watch a soft afternoon rain sweep gently across the countryside. And as evening slowly settles over the little farm, perhaps we'll discover that kindness has a quiet way of making every heart feel safe. But first, let's spend a few peaceful moments helping both body and mind prepare for a deep and restful sleep. I'm going to count slowly from 10 to 1, and with every number, simply allow yourself to relax a little more. 10. Feel the support beneath you. Whatever you're resting on tonight, allow it to carry your weight completely. Notice that you don't have to hold yourself up anymore. You can simply rest. 9. Allow yourself to become aware of your breathing. There is no need to change it. Simply notice each slow breath as it comes, and as it goes. With every gentle breath, your body begins to understand that the day is over. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing more you need to do. Only this quiet moment, only this peaceful evening, and the gentle journey that is about to begin. 8. Feel into your body now. Notice if there is anywhere you might still be holding on to the day. Perhaps your shoulders are carrying a little tension. Perhaps your jaw has remained gently clenched without you even realizing it. Maybe there is a heaviness behind your eyes, or a little tightness in your neck, your back, your hands, or your feet. There is nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to force. Simply notice. And as you notice, see if each part of your body can soften. Just a little. Allow your shoulders to sink. Allow your hands to become comfortably heavy. Allow the tiny muscles around your eyes to relax. Your body has worked faithfully for you today. Now, it deserves kindness. 7. The day is finished. Whatever happened today has already happened. There is nothing your thoughts can change about it now. And tomorrow has not yet arrived. There is no need to prepare for it in this moment. Tomorrow will come in its own perfect time. Tonight belongs only to rest. If thoughts happen to appear, welcome them gently. There is no need to chase them away. Simply notice them. The way you might notice soft white clouds drifting across a wide blue sky, or autumn leaves floating quietly along a slow country stream. They arrive, they drift, and before long, they disappear all on their own. 6. This moment belongs entirely to you. You have earned it. You deserve a little peace, a little quiet, a little gentleness. Imagine that every slow breath is carrying away whatever you no longer need to hold tonight. Any worry, any hurry, any tiredness, simply melting away with every gentle exhale. Far away, beyond busy roads, beyond noisy towns, there is a quiet little farm waiting patiently for the morning. The fields are still wrapped in darkness. The farmhouse windows remain softly lit, and somewhere inside, Martha is just beginning to wake, not because an alarm has called her, but because her heart has followed the same peaceful rhythm for many years. Soon, very soon, you'll walk beside her, but not just yet. For now, there is only your breathing, my voice, and the quiet comfort of knowing that everything is exactly as it should be. 5. Peace has always lived quietly within you. It has never truly left. Sometimes it simply becomes hidden beneath busy days, unfinished thoughts, or the weight of carrying too much for too long. Tonight, there is nothing you need to search for, nothing you need to earn. Simply allow yourself to become aware of the quiet peace already waiting inside you. Perhaps you feel it in your heart, perhaps in the gentle rhythm of your breathing, or perhaps it's simply the growing heaviness of your body as it settles more comfortably into rest. Whatever you notice, allow it to grow, slowly, naturally, without effort. For perhaps this is a lovely moment for a little gratitude, not for anything extraordinary, only for the simple things, for the place where you're resting tonight, for the warmth that surrounds you, for every quiet breath that comes so naturally, for the people who have shown you kindness, and for the kindness you've shown others. Sometimes, the smallest moments become the ones that stay with us the longest. A warm cup of tea, the sound of gentle rain, a friendly smile, a peaceful evening. These quiet gifts ask for nothing, yet somehow, they leave our hearts feeling full. 3. Now, allow your imagination to wake gently. Picture a narrow country lane winding softly through the countryside. Grass grows along its center, untouched by busy traffic. Wildflowers bloom quietly beside weathered wooden fences. Morning mist still rests low over the rolling fields. At the very end of that peaceful lane, almost hidden among old oak trees and flowering hedgerows, stands a little farmhouse. Its windows glow with the soft golden light of early morning. A thin ribbon of smoke rises lazily from the stone chimney, disappearing into the pale blue sky above. Somewhere nearby, a robin sings the first song of the day. The air is cool, fresh, wonderfully still, and standing quietly at the front gate, waiting to welcome you, is Martha. She smiles the gentle smile of someone who has nowhere else to be, and all the time in the world to share. In just a little while, you'll walk beside her. You'll discover the peaceful rhythm of her little farm. But first, allow yourself to settle even more deeply into this quiet moment, because with every gentle breath, the busy world grows a little farther away, and the peaceful morning waiting beyond that little gate comes a little closer. 2. Checking in with your body one more time now. Notice if there is anywhere you're still holding on. Perhaps a little tension remains in your shoulders, or your neck, or somewhere behind your eyes. There is nothing you need to force. Simply give your body permission to rest. Feel your forehead becoming smooth, your jaw loose and relaxed, your shoulders gently sinking, your arms pleasantly heavy, your hands completely still, your legs comfortable, your feet resting exactly where they are. Your whole body understands what to do. It has been waiting for this quiet moment all day. Allow it to relax. Just a little more. One. Completely letting go now. The world outside can wait until morning. The day has already finished. The night has arrived. Softly, quietly, just as it always does. And now, your gentle journey begins. There is a little farm at the end of a long country lane. The kind of lane where wild grass grows peacefully down the middle, and where tire tracks have become soft with time. If you were to walk along it slowly, you would pass old wooden fences wrapped in climbing roses, hedgerows alive with tiny birds greeting the new day, and fields stretching peacefully toward distant rolling hills. The morning air is cool against your skin. It carries the fresh scent of damp earth, wildflowers, and newly cut hay somewhere far away. The sky has only just begun to brighten. The first gentle colors of dawn are spreading across the horizon. Soft shades of pale blue, gentle pink, and warm gold quietly replace the darkness of night. At the very end of the lane, almost hidden beneath the branches of two old oak trees, stands a small stone farmhouse. Its windows glow warmly. A thin ribbon of smoke rises lazily from the chimney. Everything about the little home feels welcoming, safe, peaceful. As you step through the wooden gate, it opens with the faintest little creak, almost as though it has been expecting you. Standing quietly beside the garden path, wearing a warm wool sweater and a gentle smile, is Martha. "Good morning," she says softly. "I'm so glad you're here." Her voice is calm, unhurried, the kind of voice that immediately makes you feel at home. She picks up a small woven basket resting beside the front door. Inside are fresh apples, a little grain, a few carrots, and several small treats prepared for the friend she'll soon be visiting. She looks toward the quiet fields, then back at you. "The farm is just beginning to wake," she says with a smile. "Would you like to come with me?" You smile and quietly nod. "I'd love to." Martha's smile grows just a little warmer. "I had a feeling you might." Together, the two of you begin walking along the narrow stone path that winds gently through the garden. Nothing here seems to hurry. Not the flowers, not the trees, not even the morning itself. Tiny white daisies peek through the grass beside the path. Lavender bush sways softly in the cool breeze, filling the air with their calming fragrance. Honeybees are only just beginning to wake, lazily drifting from blossom to blossom as the first warmth of the sun reaches the garden. Somewhere nearby, you hear the cheerful sound of running water. A little stone bird bath sits beneath an old apple tree. Several tiny sparrows flutter down one after another, splashing happily before flying back into the branches above. Martha pauses for a moment to watch them. "They've been visiting every morning for years," she says softly. "I like to think they know they're always welcome here." She continues walking at the same peaceful pace. "I've learned something living here. The day always begins more beautifully when you take the time to notice the little things. The birds, the flowers, the morning air, the sound of your own footsteps. So many wonderful things happen quietly. If we rush, we miss nearly all of them. You find yourself slowing your own steps without even thinking. The gravel beneath your shoes makes the softest little crunch. The breeze brushes gently across your face. The morning feels wonderfully fresh, comfortably cool. Ahead, the garden opens into a wide green meadow. Tiny drops of dew still rest upon every blade of grass. As the sunlight touches them, they sparkle like thousands of tiny diamonds scattered across the field. "It's my favorite time of day," Martha whispers. Everything still feels peaceful. The animals haven't begun wandering very far. The birds are singing, and the whole farm seems to take one long, quiet breath before the day begins. For a few moments, neither of you speaks. There is no need. The silence feels warm, comfortable, the kind of silence shared between old friends. Then, from somewhere just beyond the meadow, comes the first familiar sound of the morning. A soft, contented cluck, then another, and another. Martha smiles immediately. It sounds like someone's waiting rather patiently for breakfast. She looks toward the little cream-colored henhouse standing beneath the old oak tree. Shall we go and say good morning to the hens? Martha gently lifts the small wooden latch. The little door opens with the softest creak. Almost immediately, a cheerful chorus of quiet clucks fills the cool morning air. Good morning, everyone, Martha says warmly. I hope I haven't kept you waiting. One by one, the hens begin stepping outside. Not all at once, each in her own unhurried way. A little white hen pauses in the doorway and stretches one wing before carefully hopping down into the grass. A speckled brown hen follows close behind, stopping only long enough to shake the last tiny drops of sleep from her feathers. Another proudly struts across the yard as though she owns the entire farm. Martha laughs softly. That one is Dorothy. She believes she's in charge of absolutely everything, as if she understands exactly what's being said. Dorothy gives one confident little cluck and continues marching through the grass with remarkable determination. You can't help smiling. She certainly looks like she's in charge. Oh, she thinks she is, Martha replies with a quiet laugh. But I don't have the heart to tell her otherwise. She reaches into her basket and gathers a handful of golden grain. With one gentle sweep of her hand, she scatters it across the ground. The hens wander over happily. There is no pushing, no rushing. Each simply finds her own little place. The soft tapping of tiny beaks against the earth creates a gentle rhythm. Tap, tap, tap. It's a wonderfully peaceful sound, small enough to almost disappear into the morning, yet somehow able to make the whole farm feel awake. Martha watches them with quiet affection. I've known every one of them since they were little chicks. I remember the first day each one hatched. They all looked so small, so uncertain. And now, she smiles as Dorothy gently nudges another hen aside. They've all grown into exactly who they were meant to be. One little hen leaves the others and slowly walks toward Martha. Instead of eating, she simply stands beside her boots. Martha kneels without saying a word. Hello, Hazel. I was wondering when you'd come to say good morning. Hazel tilts her tiny head before giving the gentlest little cluck. Then, with complete trust, she hops lightly onto Martha's knee. There she is, Martha whispers. My morning cuddle. You smile. Does she always do that? Almost every day. I never taught her. She simply decided one morning that this was where she liked to begin her day. Martha gently strokes Hazel's soft feathers. Hazel closes her eyes. Perfectly relaxed. Perfectly safe. After a few quiet moments, she hops back down and calmly rejoins the others. Martha watches her for a moment before quietly saying, I think animals remember one thing better than anything else. They remember how we make them feel. They may not understand every word we say, but they always understand kindness. For a little while, the two of you simply stand together beneath the old oak tree, listening to the quiet morning, watching a happy little flock enjoy the simple pleasure of breakfast. The little flock continues pecking happily at the scattered grain. Some scratch gently at the soft earth with quick little feet. Others wander through the fresh grass, stopping every now and then to investigate something only a curious chicken could possibly find interesting. The morning sun has climbed a little higher now. Its warm golden light settles gently across the farmyard. Tiny drops of dew sparkle like little crystals upon the grass. Everything feels peaceful. Everything feels awake. Martha waits until every hen has finished eating before she gathers her basket once again. "They always come first," she says softly. "They've learned that breakfast is never late." She smiles. "And somehow, I think they've taught me never to rush through a beautiful morning." The two of you leave the little hen house behind and continue walking along a narrow path lined with wildflowers. The grass brushes softly against your shoes. Butterflies drift lazily through the warm morning air. Not far ahead stands an old red barn. Its weathered wooden walls have been warmed by countless summers, cooled by countless winters, and gently shaped by years of wind, sunshine, and rain. Climbing ivy winds its way around one corner. Swallows dart gracefully beneath the roof, disappearing into tiny nests tucked safely beneath the old wooden beams. Martha slows her steps as she approaches. "I always like to say good morning before I go inside." She rests one hand upon the large wooden door. "Good morning, my lovely girls." Almost immediately, a deep, gentle moo answers from inside. Then another. Martha laughs quietly. "I think they've been expecting us." She slowly pulls the heavy barn door open. Warm air drifts out to meet you. It carries the comforting scent of fresh hay, clean straw, and warm animals. Golden sunlight pours through the open doorway, filling the barn with long beams of soft light. Tiny specks of dust float lazily through the sunshine like little stars. Inside, two beautiful cows lift their heads. One is a soft honey-brown color with gentle eyes that seem almost to smile. The other is white with warm caramel patches across her shoulders. Both stop chewing for just a moment, simply to watch Martha arrive. "There you are," Martha says warmly. "I hope I didn't keep you waiting." The brown cow lets out another soft moo, not impatient, not demanding, simply happy to see an old friend. Martha reaches out and gently rests one hand against her shoulder. "This is Daisy. She's been with me for almost 14 years. I still remember the day she arrived. She was only a tiny calf, so curious about everything." Daisy leans ever so slightly into Martha's hand. Her breathing is slow, steady, completely relaxed. Martha smiles. She still greets me exactly the same way every morning. Watching them together, it becomes beautifully clear that this little farm is built not upon routines, but upon quiet friendships that have grown stronger with every passing season. Martha leaves her hand resting gently against Daisy's shoulder for another quiet moment. Neither of them seems in any hurry to move. The barn is filled with a peaceful silence. Only the slow sound of chewing hay, the quiet breathing of the cows, and the occasional flutter of swallows beneath the rafters. At last, Martha reaches into her basket and lifts a fresh bundle of sweet-smelling hay. She places it carefully into the wooden feeding trough. Daisy steps forward first, not because she is impatient, but simply because she has followed the same gentle morning routine for many years. The second cow waits calmly beside her. Martha turns with another warm smile. "And I certainly haven't forgotten you." She strokes the white cow's neck with the same gentle affection. "This is Buttercup. She's a little younger than Daisy, but she's every bit as kind." Buttercup closes her eyes for a moment beneath Martha's hand. Then she lets out a soft breath through her nose, almost like a quiet sigh of happiness. "I've always thought Buttercup has the gentlest heart on the whole farm. If one of the younger animals feels frightened, she's usually the first to stand beside them. If someone is feeling lonely, she somehow always knows." The two cows begin eating together. Their movements are slow, peaceful, unhurried. The soft sound of hay being pulled from the trough creates a gentle rhythm that seems perfectly suited to the quiet morning. Martha leans comfortably against the old wooden fence. "You know, people often believe kindness belongs only to people, but I don't think that's true." She watches Daisy finish another mouthful before continuing. I think kindness has its own language. It doesn't need words. It lives in gentle hands, in patient voices, in showing up every day. She reaches into the pocket of her apron and smiles to herself. I almost forgot. From her pocket she brings out two bright red apples. Immediately, both cows lift their heads, not excited, simply hopeful. They know exactly what comes next. Martha laughs softly. I had a feeling you'd remember. She carefully cuts each apple into neat slices with a small pocket knife. One piece at a time, she offers them from the palm of her hand. Each cow accepts her treat with remarkable gentleness. Their soft noses brush lightly against her fingers. Not once do they rush. Not once do they compete. There we are, Martha whispers. Just as promised. She watches them finish the last little pieces. A quiet smile settles across her face. The happiest part of my mornings, she says, is simply knowing that everyone has enough. For a few peaceful moments, the barn grows still again. Golden sunlight streams through the open doorway. Dust drifts lazily through the warm beams of light. Outside, a gentle breeze stirs the leaves of the old oak tree. Then, from somewhere beyond the barn, comes the slow, steady sound of heavy hooves walking across the yard. Thump, thump, thump. Martha smiles before the figure even appears. I believe, she says softly, our oldest friend is awake. The sound grows a little closer. Slow, steady, comfortably familiar. Thump, thump, thump. Martha walks toward the far end of the barn and opens a smaller wooden door. Cool morning air slips gently inside. There you are, she says with a smile. I thought you might still be enjoying your breakfast. A magnificent old horse appears in the doorway. His coat is a rich chestnut brown, softened here and there with silver hairs that have appeared over the years. His long mane falls gently across one side of his neck. His eyes are calm, kind, the kind of eyes that seem to have watched many seasons quietly come and go. This, Martha says softly, is Samson. Samson pauses for just a moment before stepping inside. There is no hurry in his movements. Every step is slow, comfortable, confident. He has walked these same few yards thousands of times. The old wooden floor seems to know him just as well as he knows it. He spent most of his life working these fields, Martha says. Long before tractors did the heavy work, he pulled wagons filled with fresh hay. He carried children who are grown now, and every spring, he helped prepare the fields for planting. She smiles warmly, but those days are behind him now. He doesn't work anymore, and I wouldn't ask him to. He's earned a peaceful life. Samson slowly lowers his great head. Without thinking, Martha rests her forehead gently against his. Neither of them moves. The barn grows wonderfully still. You hear only Samson's slow breathing. Deep, steady, comforting. It becomes almost impossible not to match your own breathing to his. After a few quiet moments, Martha reaches for a soft grooming brush hanging neatly beside the stable door. I still brush him every morning, not because he needs it, but because I think we both enjoy the time together. The brush glides slowly through Samson's thick coat. Long, gentle strokes, one after another. Samson closes his eyes. His ears relax. Every now and then, he lets out a long, peaceful sigh. The funny thing is, Martha says quietly, Samson has taught me far more than I could ever teach him. When we're young, we're always told how important it is to work, to stay busy, to keep going. She continues brushing him slowly, but Samson reminds me that rest is important too, that after a lifetime of giving, It's perfectly alright to simply enjoy a warm morning, a quiet breeze, and the company of old friends. Golden sunlight pours through the open barn door, filling the stable with warmth. Tiny dust particles drift lazily through the light. Outside, the breeze carries the distant sound of birds singing across the fields. For a little while, the whole world seems to slow down, as though the farm itself is quietly inviting you to breathe a little deeper, to let go a little more, and simply enjoy this peaceful moment beside an old horse who knows that life isn't measured by how much we accomplish, but by how gently we learn to live. Martha places the brush bag on its hook. With one last gentle pat on Samson's shoulder, she smiles. "I'll come and see you again this evening." Samson gives the smallest nod of his great head, as though he understands every word. Perhaps, in his own quiet way, he does. The two of you leave the stable together. The morning has grown warmer now. Sunlight stretches across the fields in long golden ribbons. The last traces of dew are beginning to disappear, leaving behind fresh green grass that sways softly in the gentle breeze. As you step outside, a familiar bark echoes across the farm. Once, then again. This one is cheerful, playful, impossible to mistake. Martha laughs quietly. "That will be Ben. He never lets me wander too far without checking where I am, almost as if he has heard his name." A handsome black and white border collie comes racing across the meadow. His long coat shines in the morning sun. His ears stand alert. But as he reaches Martha, he doesn't jump. He doesn't bark again. Instead, he simply sits beside her with perfect patience. His tail sweeps happily through the grass. "Good morning, Ben." Martha scratches gently behind one of his ears. "I see you've already been checking on everyone." Ben closes his eyes for just a moment, leaning happily into her hand. Not far behind him, another little bundle of energy comes bouncing through the wildflowers. She is much smaller, golden-colored, with bright eyes full of curiosity and ears that seem just a little too big for her tiny head. And like Ben, she cannot possibly walk. She bounces, she hops, she runs little circles around Martha's boots before happily rolling onto her back in the warm grass. "Ah," Martha laughs softly. "I think someone would like a tummy rub." The little dog wiggles with excitement. This is Millie. She believes every morning is the happiest morning that's ever existed. Martha kneels and gently rubs Millie's soft little belly. Millie's tail wags so quickly it brushes tiny flowers back and forth across the grass. She lets out one long, satisfied sigh. Ben watches quietly nearby, patient, calm, content simply to be close. "I've always thought they balance each other beautifully," Martha says. "Ben reminds me to slow down. Millie reminds me not to forget how wonderful it is to feel joy." She smiles thoughtfully, and I think life becomes much happier when we remember to do both. For a little while, none of you speak. Ben lies peacefully beside Martha. Millie stretches comfortably in the sunshine. The breeze carries the sweet scent of wildflowers across the meadow. High above, a meadowlark begins to sing. Its clear, gentle song drifts across the open fields, floating higher and higher into the bright blue morning sky. Martha closes her eyes for a moment, simply listening. Then she opens them again with a quiet smile. "Come," she says softly. "I'd like to show you my favorite place on the whole farm." Ben gets to his feet without being asked. Millie gives one happy little stretch before trotting ahead, her tail wagging with endless enthusiasm. The four of you leave the barnyard behind and follow a narrow footpath that winds gently through the meadow. The grass grows a little taller here. Wild daisies, buttercups, and soft purple clover sway peacefully in the warm breeze. Honeybees drift lazily from flower to flower, completely undisturbed by your quiet footsteps. Nothing here seems rushed. Not the insects, not the flowers, not even the breeze itself. After a short walk, you begin to hear something. At first, it's only the faintest whisper. Then gradually, it becomes clearer. The gentle sound of flowing water. Just beyond a small grove of old willow trees, a narrow stream winds quietly across the farm. The water is wonderfully clear, so clear that smooth little stones resting beneath the surface can be seen through the gentle current. Sunlight dances across the moving water, scattering tiny flashes of silver in every direction. Martha smiles. This is my favorite place. I come here almost every morning. She kneels beside the stream and lets her fingertips rest lightly in the cool water. Small ripples spread slowly across the surface, growing wider, until they quietly disappear. This stream has been here much longer than I have. It was here before the farmhouse, before the barn, before the fencers. It has simply kept flowing, season after season. She looks at the gentle current for a moment before continuing, and everyone comes here. The birds, the sheep, the deer that wander down from the woods, the rabbits, the foxes after sunset. They all drink from the same little stream. She smiles softly. I've always loved that. The stream never chooses who is welcome. It simply gives fresh water for anyone who needs it. Ben walks carefully to the edge and takes a slow drink. Millie follows a moment later, although she spends nearly as much time watching tiny fish dart between the stones as she does drinking. A bright blue dragonfly glides silently over the water before disappearing into the tall reeds on the opposite bank. The willow branches sway gently overhead. Their long green leaves brush softly together, creating the quietest rustling sound. Martha settles comfortably beneath the largest willow tree, its wide branches spread above like a natural shelter. She leans back against the old trunk. You know, I think this tree understands something most of us forget. It has stood here through sunshine, through heavy rain, through cold winters, and beautiful springs. It never tries to hurry the seasons. It simply trusts that each one will arrive exactly when it's meant to. She closes her eyes for a quiet moment, and perhaps our lives become a little more peaceful when we learn to trust time in the very same way. The gentle stream continues its endless journey beside you, never rushing, never stopping, simply flowing, exactly as it was always meant to. For a long while, the two of you remain beneath the old willow tree. Neither of you feels the need to speak. The stream continues its gentle song. The leaves whisper softly overhead, and somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark greets the brightening afternoon with another clear, joyful melody. Eventually, Martha opens her eyes. She watches the water for a quiet moment before smiling. We should probably head back. I think someone may be waiting for us. Ben is already standing, as though he somehow knew the moment had arrived. Millie gives one last curious look toward the tiny fish beneath the water before happily following behind. The walk back feels even slower than before. The warmth of the sun has settled gently across the countryside. The morning coolness has disappeared. The air now carries the sweet scent of wild grass warmed by sunshine. Butterflies drift lazily through the meadow. Dragonflies shimmer like little pieces of blue glass above the tall reeds. Everything feels wonderfully alive, yet wonderfully calm. As you approach the farmhouse once again, the vegetable garden comes into view. Neat little rows stretch across the rich brown soil. Tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, beans climbing carefully tied wooden stakes. Everything has its place. Everything has been lovingly cared for. Martha kneels beside one of the rows. She gently brushes a tiny weed away with her fingertips. I've never enjoyed rushing through the garden. I think plants grow best when someone notices them. She smiles softly. Perhaps people do too. You help her gather a few ripe tomatoes, each one warm from the sunshine, their bright red skins almost glowing against the green leaves. Nearby, a little ginger cat appears from beneath the garden fence. She walks slowly, stretching after what was clearly a very comfortable nap. Well, Martha laughs quietly. Someone has finally decided to wake up. The little cat strolls confidently toward her, not asking for attention, simply expecting it. This is Ginger. She believes this entire garden belongs to her. As if to prove the point, Ginger hops gracefully onto the warm wooden bench and curls herself into a perfect little circle. Within moments, she begins purring. A deep, steady, contented sound. Soon another cat appears, then another. A beautiful gray cat with bright green eyes. And behind her, a smaller black cat with one tiny white paw. They always seem to know where I am, Martha says. I've stopped wondering how. She gently strokes each one as they pass. They spend most of the day exploring the barns and fields, but somehow, they're always here when it's time for a quiet rest. The three cats settle comfortably around the little garden, one beneath the bench, one upon the warm stone wall, and Ginger, still proudly claiming the sunny spot beside Martha. The whole garden grows wonderfully still. A soft breeze stirs the bean plants. Bees hum quietly among the lavender. Somewhere beyond the fields, you hear the distant lowing of the cows. Martha looks toward the western hills. The bright blue sky is beginning to change. Far away, soft gray clouds are quietly gathering. She smiles. I think we'll have rain this afternoon. And if we do, the whole farm will become even cozier. Martha continues watching the western sky for a few quiet moments. The clouds are still far away, soft gray shapes drifting slowly above the distant hills. There is no sense of urgency, no sudden change, only the quiet promise of rain making its gentle journey toward the little farm. She smiles. The land has been waiting for this. The gardens will drink, the fields will drink, and by tomorrow morning, everything will smell fresh again. The breeze begins to change, only slightly. It feels cooler now, gentler. The leaves of the old oak tree rustle a little more than before. Even the birds seem to notice. Their songs become softer, more occasional, as though they too understand that the weather is slowly changing. Ben lifts his nose toward the air. Millie pauses for a moment beside the garden gate. Then, quite happily, she continues following Martha as though nothing in the world could possibly worry her. The four of you wander back across the farmyard. The hens are still exploring beneath the old oak tree. Some scratch happily through the soft earth. Others rest quietly beneath the shade of the branches. Dorothy, who still carries herself with great importance, carefully leads two younger hens toward a patch of fresh grass. Martha chuckles softly. I think she believes she's responsible for everyone. But perhaps that's not such a bad thing. Sometimes kindness simply looks like quietly looking after one another. As you continue walking, the first cool breeze brushes gently across your face. It carries the unmistakable scent of approaching rain. Fresh earth, wild grass, distant pine trees. The kind of fragrance that seems to calm the mind before the first drop has even fallen. Martha closes her eyes for just a second. I've loved this smell ever since I was a little girl. My grandmother used to say, the rain always tells you it's coming, if you remember to breathe deeply enough. She opens her eyes again and smiles. I still think she was right. Far above, The bright sunshine slowly softens behind a thin blanket of cloud. The light becomes quieter, gentler. The fields lose none of their beauty. Instead, they seem to become even softer, their colors blending together beneath the peaceful gray sky. The sheep gather naturally a little closer together on the hillside. The cows wander slowly toward the barn without anyone calling them. Even Samson lifts his head for a moment, quietly watching the clouds before returning to his hay. "They always know before we do," Martha says. "Animals listen to the world in ways we've almost forgotten." She gently adjusts the basket resting on her arm. "I think we'd better make sure everyone is warm and comfortable. Not because they can't manage, but because caring for someone before they need to ask is one of the simplest ways to show love." Just then, a single cool drop lands softly on the back of your hand. Another falls onto the garden path. Then another, spreading tiny dark circles across the dusty ground. Martha looks up toward the sky with a peaceful smile. Here it comes, the afternoon rain. The rain begins exactly as Martha knew it would. Not with thunder, not with strong winds, but with quiet little drops, falling one by one across the fields. Tap, tap, tap. Each drop lands softly upon the grass. Tiny circles ripple across the surface of the old stone bird bath. The dusty garden path slowly darkens. The air becomes wonderfully cool, wonderfully fresh. Martha doesn't hurry. She never does. Instead, she opens the old wooden gate leading toward the barn and quietly calls, "Come along, everyone." There is no need to raise her voice. The animals know this gentle routine. The hens make their way beneath the covered shelter beside their little house. Dorothy, of course, is the last to go. She pauses beneath the oak tree, looking around as though making absolutely certain everyone else is safely inside before following them. Martha smiles. "I told you." She takes her responsibilities very seriously. Ben trots beside the sheep as they slowly wander toward the lower pasture where an open shelter waits beneath a row of old maple trees. No barking, no rushing, only quiet guidance. Millie bounces happily beside him, occasionally stopping to sniff a rain-soaked flower before hurrying to catch up again. By the time you reach the barn, the rain has become steady. A soft silver curtain falls across the farm. The sound of it on the old wooden roof is gentle, almost musical. Inside, everything feels warm. The cows settle comfortably into fresh hay. Samson stands peacefully in his favorite corner, quietly watching the rain beyond the doorway. The cats have already found the coziest places imaginable. One curls upon a pile of folded blankets. Another stretches lazily across a sunny windowsill where the last golden light still reaches through the clouds. Ginger, having claimed the softest cushion in the barn, opens one sleepy eye as Martha walks past. Then, deciding everything is exactly as it should be, she closes it again. Martha laughs quietly. She's convinced rainy afternoons were invented especially for naps. You find yourself smiling too? There is something deeply comforting about this place. No one is worried. No one is rushing to escape the weather. The rain isn't an inconvenience here. It's simply another peaceful part of the day. Martha stands beside the open barn door. She watches the rain falling across the fields. "I've always believed," she says softly, "that rainy days invite us to slow down. They remind us that not every moment needs to be productive. Sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is simply stay warm, stay still, and enjoy being exactly where we are." For several quiet minutes, the two of you simply listen. The gentle rhythm of rain on the roof, the soft breathing of the animals, the occasional contented sigh from Samson. Outside, The whole countryside seems wrapped in a blanket of peaceful gray, and somehow, the little farm feels even more like home. The afternoon slips quietly toward evening. The rain never becomes heavy. It simply continues, steady, gentle, and wonderfully comforting. From the kitchen window, Martha watches tiny streams of water trickle through the garden beds. The tomatoes glisten with little crystal droplets. The lavender bows gently beneath the weight of the rain. Every flower seems somehow brighter than before. She places the kettle on the old stove. Soon, the familiar sound of softly bubbling water fills the little farmhouse. The room grows warm, comfortable, wonderfully inviting. Martha prepares herself a simple cup of tea. Nothing fancy, just the same quiet afternoon ritual she has enjoyed for years. She carries the warm mug to the window and stands there for a while, watching the rain paint silver lines across the glass. Outside, Ben has curled himself beneath the covered porch. Millie sleeps beside him, one tiny paw resting across his back. The cats remain scattered throughout the farmhouse, each having discovered the warmest possible place for an afternoon nap. One sleeps beside the stove. Another has claimed the old rocking chair. Ginger, of course, has somehow found the very softest blanket in the entire house. Martha smiles to herself. I've never met anyone who enjoys rainy afternoons more than cats. She takes another slow sip of tea. I suppose they've learned something the rest of us often forget. They never feel guilty about resting. If they're tired, they sleep. If they're comfortable, they stay exactly where they are. They never apologize for slowing down. The words linger gently in your mind. Outside, the rain continues falling across the peaceful fields. Inside, the fire has begun to glow softly inside the old stove. Its gentle warmth spreads slowly through the room. The windows begin to mist slightly around the edges. The farmhouse feels wonderfully cozy now, safe from the cool afternoon rain. Martha places another small log onto the fire. The flames brighten for a moment, then settle into a slow, comforting crackle. She looks toward the doorway. I think everything's ready. She smiles warmly. This is my favorite part of the day. When everyone is warm, everyone is safe, and the whole farm becomes quiet. She picks up a well-loved old book resting on the little wooden table beside her favorite chair. Its leather cover has softened with age. The pages have been turned so many times that they no longer lie perfectly flat. She gently brushes a little dust from the cover. Then she settles into the deep armchair beside the glowing fire. Outside, the rain whispers softly against the windows. Inside, the room is filled with warmth, gentle light, and the peaceful feeling that the day has asked for nothing more. Martha opens the book with a quiet smile. Now, she says softly, let me read you one of my favorite evening stories. Martha turns the first page slowly. The paper makes the softest little whisper beneath her fingertips. For a moment, she simply looks at the familiar words, not because she has forgotten them. Quite the opposite. She knows this story almost by heart. She has read it so many evenings that it feels less like a book, and more like an old friend returning home. The fire crackles gently beside her. Outside, the rain continues its peaceful rhythm upon the roof. Every now and then, a tiny drop slips from the edge of the porch roof into a puddle below. Plink. Then silence again. Ben lifts his head for only a second before settling back into his comfortable sleep. Millie gives one sleepy stretch, lets out the tiniest sigh, and curls herself a little closer. The cats remain exactly where they are, perfectly content, perfectly warm. Martha begins to read. Her voice is soft, steady, never hurried. the kind of voice that fills a room without ever asking to be noticed. As she reads, the farmhouse seems to grow even quieter. The words drift gently through the warm room like falling snow. Outside, the rain slowly begins to ease. Its steady rhythm softens, until only the occasional drop taps quietly against the windows. Soon, the clouds begin to part. A little patch of pale evening sky appears above the western hills. Golden sunlight slips through the opening. For just a few precious moments, the entire farm glows. Every blade of grass sparkles with tiny drops of rain. The old stone walls shine softly. The trees seem washed clean. The world feels wonderfully fresh. Martha lowers her book for a moment and smiles toward the window. I always love this part. The rain leaves everything just a little brighter than before. She watches the light spread across the fields. It reminds me that quiet moments often leave the deepest changes. They don't arrive with great excitement. They arrive gently, almost unnoticed. And somehow, everything feels different afterward. The last rays of sunlight slowly disappear behind the distant hills. The sky changes once more. Soft gold becomes pale lavender. Lavender becomes deep blue. One by one, the first evening stars begin to appear above the peaceful countryside. The day has almost reached its gentle end, and the little farm, wrapped in fresh rain, warm light, and quiet gratitude, prepares itself for another peaceful night. The stars continue to appear, one after another, quietly filling the wide country sky. The air outside is cool again, fresh after the gentle rain. The fields shimmer faintly beneath the moonlight, every blade of grass still holding tiny drops of water that sparkle like scattered pearls. Inside the farmhouse, the fire has settled into glowing embers. Its warm orange light dances softly across the stone walls. Long, gentle shadows stretch across the wooden floor. The room feels wonderfully peaceful. Martha closes her book. She slips a small ribbon between the pages to mark her place. There, she whispers, "We'll finish the rest another evening." She isn't speaking to anyone in particular. Perhaps to the room, perhaps to herself, or perhaps to the quiet little farm that has shared another beautiful day with her. She rises slowly from her chair, not because she has to, only because there is one last little evening tradition she never misses. She opens the back door just enough to step onto the porch. The night greets her with perfect stillness. The rain has completely passed. Above her, the stars shine brilliantly, somewhere beyond the fields. An owl calls softly into the darkness. Farther away, a chorus of tiny crickets begins their nightly song. Martha smiles toward the quiet farm. Good night, Daisy. Good night, Buttercup. Good night, Samson. Good night, Dorothy. Good night, Ben. Good night, Millie. And good night to every little bird sleeping safely in the old oak tree. She has whispered these same good nights for so many years that the words have become part of the evening itself. A small ritual of gratitude, a gentle reminder that everyone she loves is safe. Everyone is warm. Everyone has enough. She takes one last deep breath of the cool country air, the scent of rain, fresh earth, wild flowers, and warm hay still lingers softly around the farm. Then she quietly closes the door behind her. The little farmhouse grows still once again. The fire glows peacefully. The dogs sleep soundly upon the rug. The cats dream in their favorite corners. Outside, the farm rests beneath a blanket of stars. Everything that needed to be done today has been done. Everything that needed care has been cared for. And now, both the farm and Martha herself are ready to surrender completely to the quiet kindness of the night. Martha returns to her favorite chair one last time. The room is quiet now. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that feels warm, complete. The fire has become a bed of glowing embers. Every now and then, a tiny spark rises for a moment, before gently disappearing into the darkness. She wraps a soft wool blanket around her shoulders. The very same blanket knitted many winters ago from the wool of sheep who still wander peacefully across the hills outside. She smiles at the thought. How beautifully life comes full circle. The animals have cared for her, just as she has cared for them. The land has cared for them all, and in return, they have simply lived together, season after season, with quiet kindness. Martha closes her eyes. Her breathing becomes slower, gentler. The farmhouse itself seems to breathe with her. Outside, the old oak tree stands peacefully beneath the stars. The hens sleep safely upon their wooden perches. The cows rest together in the warm barn. Samson dreams quietly in his stable, his long and faithful life rewarded with comfort, peace, and gentle love. Ben gives a tiny sleepy sigh. Millie twitches one little paw as she chases something playful through her dreams. The cats remain curled into warm little circles, completely content. Every living creature on the little farm has found its place for the night. Safe, warm, at peace, and perhaps, without even realizing it, you've become part of that peaceful little farm too. Perhaps you're sitting quietly beside the fire. Perhaps you're listening to the last gentle whispers of the evening rain. Perhaps you're breathing the fresh country air drifting softly through an open window. And perhaps your own heart feels just a little lighter now, a little quieter, a little more at rest, because kindness has a remarkable way of doing that. It asks for nothing. It expects nothing. It simply creates a place where everyone feels safe enough to rest. So as sleep gently finds you tonight, allow yourself to carry a little piece of Martha's farm with you. The quiet morning fields, the old willow beside the stream, the warm barn, the faithful dogs, the gentle cows, the sleepy hens, the wise old horse, and the little stone farmhouse glowing softly beneath a sky full of stars. They will all be there, waiting peacefully, whenever you wish to return. Good night, my friend. Sleep deeply, sleep peacefully, and may your dreams be as gentle and as full of kindness as the little farm where tonight's story quietly came to an end.